So
I didn't hear
we have
a
obviously
question.
been part of we have obviously been part of conversations where people don't think that they need a training plan or a training coach. But the reality is that even as active duty operators, we still have training plans. We still have training coaches. But if you're not already in and as an operator in special tactics, where do you go? Trent, where do you go?
I go to my man, Kevin Edgerton. He runs 18 Alpha Fitness. He's been through a few different selection courses and worked in a few different selection courses. I've personally seen the results of his work in the Air Force selection process, and his results are amazing. So not only has he been through the courses and knows what he's doing, but he also has all the credentials to back it up. So he's very educated, and yeah, he's a person I trust, not just with me, but with my family when it comes to fitness and recovery and all those other types of things. And also, I think jiu-jitsu as well, right, Aaron? I think you're the jiu-jitsu guy.
He is.
Has Kevin ever hurt you?
Well, he actually has. Kevin and I have rolled together, so that's the great thing about Kevin, right? Is he literally practices what he preaches. He's out there, he's testing all of his programs, he's working out. If he's not video coaching and he's not doing something by distance, man, he is down in the trenches still. And that guy has had a long career. He's a 20-year special forces guy. Ended up being a strength and conditioning coach, and now here he is with standardized plans for everybody. Like, hey, if you want to go to special forces, he's got that base framework, but he does individualized plans and does individualized coaching for you as well. So it's not just something you're going to buy and he says, hey, you're off and you're on your way. He's engaged literally from the start of your journey all the way to the end. He's got a great track record with getting people ready for assessment selection. And like I said, man, there's nothing better than somebody that's actually doing the things that you're doing as well and seeing some success from. So head on over to 18alphafitness.com. That's 18alphafitness.com. You can find his entire website. You can also find him on Instagram at 18alphafitness. It's the easiest way. Just hit him up. Use our code ONEREADY. You can hit Kevin up direct on the DMs, and that'll get you a discount. And once again, 18alphafitness.com. If you want to get ready and you want to get into the pipeline, whatever that pipeline is, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Kevin can get you there, and he's got the experience to do so. So go check him out, 18 Alpha Fitness. Hey, everybody that's a listener or a watcher out there, do you want to get blown up on a podcast or in a reel? Well, come to our comments and leave a dumb statement. And I will tell you, like, I know I'm supposed to be nice to the followers and nice to the people that are commenting. Everybody, you can leave dumb comments, and we've gotten some really dumb comments, and we've gotten some really wild questions. And it's always one of those things. I love getting in the DMs. I love when somebody leaves a dumb comment because they obviously haven't listened to the project. The haters and the trolls are always going to be out there. There's wild things that they say just to get me to respond, usually, because I will. So hashtag leave Aaron a fun comment. But the people that come out there and obviously haven't listened to the project and then just like spout off with some stuff, like, I am going to address that. Like, you're not going to make wild claims in the comments and not have, us sit there. But we had the idea, we ought to just like get on here and explain our reasoning so that people understand. Because people are always like, why don't you guys engage in political conversations? Why do you not feel like there's this whole drama going on right now and you guys haven't said anything about it? That means you guys must be totally for it, right? We're like, no, of course not. For a bunch of different reasons, we don't engage in that stuff. And we're going to talk about some of those reasons here just so you guys understand. But we're also going to give you some tools because none of that stuff is productive. And we've talked about it before, and we're going to hit it. We're going to kind of like use positivity to jump off, because somebody hit us like, I don't know, was it last week? And they were like, oh, you guys are always so positive. That's just nonsense. Life isn't all daisies and roses and whatever. And we're like, yeah, guy, we know. So Peaches, I'll open the floor to you on the positivity thing, but why are we so darn positive? Is everything just hunky-dory inside of AFSOC, and do we agree with everything that's going on all the time?
No, I don't agree with everything that whether it's AFSOC or the Air Force or the DOD or whatever. Or I don't agree with
or America or anything. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but at the same time, there's also things, it's a respect thing as well. But obviously there is there's regulations that we have to follow and stuff like that says that we can't say things, right? We're not allowed to make political comments, especially in uniform, that kind of stuff. It's also, you just kind of shy away from it, but it doesn't buy me or us anything to kind of dive into it and be negative and be real crappy and poor attitude about it. Yeah, there are things if people have seen me, you guys have seen me on this freaking kind of get a little ranty or fired up. Which I definitely try and throttle back, which is probably pretty funny for people.
You shouldn't. I love you throttle up. I love you seeing just, you're about to wind up with a big F-bomb and I can see it coming, and then I watch you stop yourself, and it makes me die a little inside.
Yeah. I definitely censor myself on here, just in terms of cussing, because I use the F-bomb as a comma, and it flows out occasionally, but it is what it is. But in reality, like, in an environment where social media is so prevalent and people spend a lot of time on social media, and I get the irony in it because we're on social media as well, but, man, it's a dumpster fire. It doesn't buy me anything. It doesn't give me anything. If you are going to stay on social media and do stuff like that, I would recommend following more, middle of the road or positive people that are trying to encourage you, just because it's just a healthier way of living, or you just get off it completely. But, if I enter a bad situation with a more positive outlook, it's just, it generally is going to serve me better and serve people around me better. I know that sounds cheesy and very Mr. Rogers, which probably a lot of people watching this don't know who Mr. Rogers is. So I get that, but
he was a CIA assassin that ended up
he was
a children's show. Right. Is that what we're talking about?
Of all the ground that we've covered,
is that not the Rogers we're talking about?
Of all the ground that we've covered that's going to get us demonetized, Mr. Rogers' conspiracy theories about him being like a CIA sniper is the one. There's so many things here that I want to talk about because there are so many reasons. And if you think that we don't talk about these things in the background and have serious conversations with each other about every issue, every single social issue that has come up, we literally have sat down and been like, do we want to talk about it? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? Here's where we're going to start. So Peach has mentioned the social media thing. I don't know if you've noticed, there are plenty of people that are just bitching and moaning and constantly mad about stuff. So number one, that market is already saturated, boys and girls. I don't want to be another voice that's just mad about things all of the time. It's tired. I was talking to a friend of mine, there's a very specific population of people in the military, and it's where retention is hitting us the hardest. It's in between, it's like that 6 to 14 year time frame. It's a whole generation of people that I don't know what happened, but they are just pissed off all the time, and they're just constantly spouting that negativity. And when I look at the landscape of social media, it's like the Lion King. It's like everything else. Like you can have all of this beautiful stuff. And it's like, what's that shadowy realm over there? And it's like, man, that's like E3 to E6, 6 to 12 years in. Like we don't go there. Like just for somebody else is already doing that. Like we are content creators and we have a very specific niche, and we realize that we're here to provide a function, right? Like we want to be in that space. I know where my space isn't. My space is not making memes in the military meme community that just absolutely blast every single decision that comes out or every single social issue. I just don't, I can't do it. For my mental health, I cannot be that negative all the time. And there's plenty of other people that are better at it. And I won't, put their names out here right now. Like everybody knows who to follow if you want to really like watch somebody burn something to the ground. Man, I urge you, go follow them for that. But that's not what we're here to do. I'm not here to be negative all the time because that's honestly not who I am as a person. I'd be disingenuous to sit here and just rail on about things that I don't like. Do I disagree with things, or do I have a personal opinion on those things? Absolutely, I do. 100%. It's just not for the project here. That's kind of like the first thing that I think of is, hey, that's not my space,
Well, I think whenever you're confronted with one of those situations where you see something and on the surface it's bad, you have a couple choices on how do you get after that. Excuse me, something stuck in my throat. I'm getting emotional talking about this.
That's it, Trent. Trent immediately cries. Like this one is this is the episode where Trent cries because he gets so emotional.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But there's two ways to affect something, right? And we've all seen this. I think part of this is we've been in for a long time, is you can sit around and you can complain about it. And it's not that there's no goodness in that, right? Sometimes you've seen it on team. Someone will be like, hey man, this is jacked up. But unless you take a positive action on the other side of that, to fix it, then it doesn't mean anything. And I think what we're trying to do is make the second choice. We're trying to create a community and bring people in the door and show them all the positive attributes, but not like sunshine and rainbows, but we're like, hey, like, it is what you make it. The community is the people. Every situation is the people. So if you come in with a positive attitude and you focus on the good things and you try to make it better and spend the majority of your energy, building rather than burning, then everything, that'll fix a lot of the problems. You know what I mean? And no matter what the higher ups or the politicians or whatever else they're all doing, you can create an almost bulletproof community that can get after the mission and do what they need to do, in spite of all the negativity that's out there. And also,
right, and that doesn't mean that we're not very, I'm sorry, Trent, go for it.
No, I'm good.
Well, I was just going to say that, like, that doesn't mean that we're protecting our own community or our own leadership or anything like that. And I fully admit, like, hey, I am now special tactics leadership, right? Like, well, yeah, kind of.
You're good. You put that out there, big boo boo. You own
know what I mean? Yeah, but like, I am a they now, right? So it's not a matter of like, hey, don't attack me, because I certainly deserve a lot of criticism, like a lot, not just from the podcast, but a lot of criticism within, the leadership structure and that kind of stuff. Cause I am not where I want to be or providing the change that I want to see. And that's just that's just being honest. So, so we should be critical. We should be critical of leadership. We should be critical of our own peers. I think don't just chuck spears. Like, right. If you've got it, you got to come with a solution. Like, that's one of the things. Like, I get what I call drive-bys every day in the office, which is fine, because I have established that culture of like, hey, I have an open door. If you need anything, you come in there and we'll talk about it. But if you're going to do that, you also have to have a solution, unless you're at a point where you've exhausted everything and it's just like, hey man, here's what I got. And I don't have all the variables or all the different ways or methods to attack this problem and solve it.
My other favorite thing that people will do is they'll just automatically assume. They'll be like, well, you guys haven't addressed this, so you must agree with the worst parts of it. But like, what are you talking about? Like, you have no idea the conversations that we are having every single day with our peers actually in the system, right? So when you like take whatever dramatic situation that you want, there have been plenty in the last couple of years that have happened, that have blown up on social media and we've all had to deal with, right? People are like, oh, well, you haven't addressed that, so you must be on the side of the leadership, or you must be on the side of the institution. And be like, absolutely not. You have no idea the conversations that we engage in at work. You have no idea the conversations that we have with our peers. We have just decided as a group of people that we're not going to put that out to the world for a couple different reasons. And number one, it's a military axiom and it's like a rule of thumb, but you don't complain down the chain. We are not here. Like, we have to take, what it is. We have this little podcast and we joke around with each other and stuff, but you got two E8s and an E9 on a podcast. We can't complain down the chain to you. It's toxic. That's terrible leadership for you to complain down the chain. Is everything all sunshine and daisies? No. Are we happy every single day of work? No. But you know what? It's our job to show you that even though sometimes things suck, you can actually just put your head down and work through it and find a way to be positive on the other side of it. So if you think that I've never walked in the chief's office and shut the door and been like, all right, dude, and he can just feel it. I know it's coming. He's like, I know, I'll sit down and be like, all right, chief. And he goes, uh-oh. And he'll stop what he's doing. Like, I am one of those drive-bys. And I will just rip off and we will sit in there and we'll get it out of our systems. And usually I'll look at him and it's like cathartic. I'll look at him and I'll be like, all right, time to go win. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but time to go, win here. And we take that very seriously because we, call it a generational thing, call it an old school thing. But I had team sergeants. I'd be like, hey man, how you doing today? He's like, everything sucks, but I'm not going to bitch to you. How's your day going? And that always stuck with me. And the best team sergeants would do that.
That's what Trent does whenever I come into San Antonio. Like, hey bro, let's link up. We'll go walk around the special warfare squadron. And Trent just listens to me.
No, but
How about you, Trent? Like, yeah,
I think one of the other things is we've taken flack for having leadership on, right? And one of my favorite sayings ever from a movie is, the boss isn't always right, but they're always the boss. And I think one of the opportunities that we miss sometimes, outside of like the PA and all the dog and pony shows that are very Air Force centric and set up, is communicating with people that are higher up the chain and showing them and explaining to them and, like sending the positive message from special tactics up the chain and, GA and ST. And I think when you have that opportunity to engage with them, whether you agree with everything they've done or not, which I think we could all say that it's decision by decision whether I agree with them or not. But like if you have the opportunity to engage with them and leave a positive impact and explain to them your issues and your concerns up the chain, further up the chain, I think why wouldn't we take that opportunity? So there's the positivity aspect, but then there's also the opportunity aspect to highlight how amazing this community is to a broader audience. Obviously all of us really care about the community, the STGA community, and getting the opportunity to highlight that to people that are not part of the community and that the people that are the decision makers in SOCOM and the Air Force and all those other people, and leave a positive impression instead of them just going on social media and all they see is, a bunch of anonymous accounts for the most part being like, these people are terrible people and they don't know the decisions that they're making, all this other stuff. It's like, no, like, but we're here to have the conversation. It doesn't mean we agree with everything, but
right.
You gotta have a conversation to make a difference.
Well, and man, I know Chief Bass gets a ton of crap online, right? I know she does. We've covered it in the 2 hours that we had her on. Little behind the scenes. She took a half an hour each time out of her busy day on the back of that podcast to look at Peaches and I and go, all right, hey, give me some ground truth. What's going on? So, like, I don't agree with everything that Chief Bass has done. You know what? I haven't agreed with any Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force my entire career. There have been great ones like Chief Calith Wright. There have been some other ones that weren't so great in my career. Great. Who cares? The boss is still the boss. She's still, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. So like it or hate it, she's still like the fact that we were able to have an open communication and we said some hard things to her. We're like, hey, here's the ground truth of the things. And she literally wrote those things down in a notebook and took them for action. So you can say what you want about, how the platform is or whatever. We're not endorsing every single thing that person does when we bring leadership on. And oh, by the way, we have an open invite to everybody. The only reason you haven't heard some more of these dissenting voices is because we asked them over and over and over again to come on, and they haven't. They haven't said yes. We asked the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force if she wanted to come on in the middle of her probably worst social media experience, and she said yes and then followed through. So you can say whatever you want, but there are some people that are willing to take that opportunity and, no kidding, use the platform that we have to speak directly to the forces, and there are some that aren't. And each person is going to make their own choice, but open invite. Let us help you. Hit us up in the DMs. Feel free to come on. We will blast that message out there. We'll give you the chance to talk.
I think people forget that people are humans. People forget they're humans. People make mistakes. We make plenty of them. We've made them in this 17 minutes that we've been recording this. We've made mistakes. Guarantee it. It's one of those things where, do the right analogy. You got the glass house analogy, and the good one that I always go to is when Barry Bonds was getting hit with the steroid thing. And I remember in an interview, he's like, hey, all of you have made mistakes. And he's talking to the journalist. He's like, every single one of you have made mistakes. Make sure your closet is clear before you come open the door to my closet and check it out and criticize everything I have, which is true. So I tend to think like whenever somebody's making whether it's a poor decision or a perceived poor decision, understand that maybe that person is making a mistake. Maybe you, as the person that is providing that criticism, just doesn't have all the variables in the equation. There's probably reasons that they are making that decision, and all you're seeing is one aspect of it. And And at the same time, they're also making very, very difficult decisions that impact lives. And that's just, it's tough. It really is tough because there is never a 100% solution to a difficult and complex problem.
Yeah.
Someone is still going to suffer.
Well, and I say it all the time. You know, there's the common phrase of like, well, you have to choose the lesser of two evils. The thing that's baked into that statement is you're picking an evil. You have to pick one of those evils and be okay with it. And sometimes you're just looking like, how can I do the most good? But sometimes you're literally like, how can I cause the least amount of harm? Because you know that you're going to have to do something. Like we have to make these hard choices. And it reminds me another thing that deserves to be said. You don't know these people, right? Like if you watch a podcast, just because like, hey, I love everybody that listens to this podcast, and I have good friends that listen to this podcast, right? So, hey, cheers. Thank you. But you don't know me unless you're my friend, unless we interact every single day. Like, you know, what you see on the internet or what you see on, you know, the memes or what you see, whatever else. You don't know me as a person. You don't know who I am. You don't know my opinion on all of these things. And that's by design. And how narcissistic of people. I love that the best when they make, you know, people will make value judgments and they'll say these things like, how narcissistic of you to assume that you know what my opinion is and you never even asked. Like, people don't hit my DMs and go, hey, Aaron, you said this. I'd like to know your opinion on that. I just see the meme later where they make fun of me for saying it. And I'm like, that's not how I feel at all. It's a funny meme, but that's not how I feel, you know?
Well, and do you even really think that? Or are you just posting a meme on social media? Just like when leaders make decisions, like, and I'm sure your ceiling fans know the same things that my ceiling fan knows.
Oh, yeah.
I've made decisions for other people before without maybe all of the data. And I'm coming back and looking at them now and being like, bro, you did not make the right call in that situation. And so to assume that everybody in your leadership chain, every decision that they've made throughout their career, they're looking back at that now and being like, I made the right decision, and you're not giving them room to grow. And if you're not having those conversations and allowing them to be people and have, give them room to grow as well, and to get more of the data, it's not a worthwhile endeavor to just go after someone and attack them for everything that they've ever done on the internet. You know, like it's like an internet problem, right? Like, this is a static person when they made this statement, but that's them for the rest of their life. Like, that's nonsense. Every decision that you make is not who you are for the rest of your life. And then the data that comes out afterwards, it's like, well, obviously this was a bad decision because of this. It's just like, man, like, if you've never done anything difficult, you have no idea what you're talking about. And if you've never like looked back at the decisions that you've made and you say like, I wouldn't change anything, then you're either an idiot or you're super narcissistic. Like, I don't know how else to say it. We're supposed to be talking about positivity, right? Sorry. But you know what I mean? Like,
well, we're still talking about positivity, but
well, we're not talking. We're talking about why people ask us if we're positive. So this is good. Let's not stop the direction. I like the direction that it's going because it's really getting to some real talk.
Well, I was just going to say, and I've said it before, that like I'm a firm believer in doing, like, there's the correct thing to do and then there's the right thing to do. Sometimes the right thing to do is the correct thing to do, but not every time is the correct thing to do the right thing to do. If I'm saying that correctly, like, I always tend to do what's right. Or I shoot for everything that was right. I definitely don't get everything right, but the intent is there. Like, I intend, like, hey, I know that it says this, but this person, like, this solution or this path is the right thing for this person or the right thing to make XYZ happen.
Right. And the people that are training out there, like, you're gonna get this. Like, if you're on the pipeline, or even some of the younger dudes that are in the career field, dudes and dudettes that are in the career field, we are gonna force you, and it's day to day, and it's gonna be little stuff. Like, we're gonna force you into a situation where you have to make that decision, and it sucks, and you can get paralyzed by it. The first couple times that you face down these, just these crappy choices, like, you have equally crappy choices, and you have to pick one, and you have to just go forward with it. That it's going to happen, and it's going to happen at scopes that are bigger and bigger and bigger through your career. And it's inherent upon you to figure out how to deal with that. because, you know, some people, we all know people in our lives that are like Eeyore, right? You just ask how they're doing. They're like, well, it's just another day. I guess I'll just be an operator. Like, they're never really happy. They're never really engaged. Like, we just can't be those people. So we, you know, even in all of these things, we try to keep it at a level of like, okay, I accept what it is. The situation is, and Peaches, you put it perfectly, sometimes it just is what it is. Like, this situation sucks. It just is what it is. We're just going to have to power through it and do the best that we possibly can on the back end. And there's more important things to be done, most importantly. You know, for us here on the podcast is, well, why are you guys so positive all the time? Or why don't you guys talk about the bad things? Because there's bad things everywhere, man. If you focus on the bad things about this world and the things that are going on, and even inside of our small little globe of, you know, Air Force Special Operations, are there bad things? Are there leaders that need to do a better job? Are there people that need to?
I was wondering where you were going with that. I was like,
it was close.
He's going to call for some retirements. He's like,
are there leaders that need to get out? Yeah.
It was so close. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you guys were here for it. But that's a great example of, like, I'm not going to blow my leadership up on here by dropping a name just for some clicks, because that's not the point. That doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It may make me cool in the moment, and I may get some clout for it, I guess. But that doesn't help us win. That doesn't help us go forward. That doesn't move the ball forward. That's what we're here to do. That's what I'm trying to do, just in my little scope as a PJ, as an op soup, as whatever I'm supposed to be, a senior NCO. I just want to make my area better, and then I want to help other people make their areas better. Because if we're all doing that, then all of a sudden you have a great organization.
yeah, well, and you're talking about sphere of influence, right? And I think
Right.
people tend to work outside of that sphere of influence, especially in social media. And what you see is someone's sphere of influence will outpace their experience and knowledge. So, like, if I'm talking to somebody and they're working way outside my sphere of influence, knowledge, and experience, I'm not going to be. I want to know. I want to know what's going on. I want to have a conversation about, like, why they're making those decisions. I need to be educated, obviously. But what we end up seeing is a lot of people, making a lot of, accusations or whatever, or statements about things that they really don't know that much about. And I don't want to, like, discredit everybody that said something negative about some of the drama that's happened in the past few years, because a lot of it's right. But, like, I can look at a lot of those things and be like, you're missing certain legalities, certain things that have happened in the past. Like, you don't understand how these processes work exactly. And that's just because of where I'm at in my experience in my career. And so I'm like, okay, like, you're like 90% right, but you're missing a lot of these things. So when I'm going to go talk to other people that are outside of my sphere of expertise, I'm not going to be like, dude, you done jacked that up and you're probably an idiot. And what are you thinking? Like, I'm going to be like, hey, like, why is this way? And, like, why did you make this decision? And if you don't approach it with, like, some humility and positivity and all that other stuff, then yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of going in circles now, because I'm like, then what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, yeah, I'm not going to burn everybody down that I don't know anything about.
Well, and people do not think their actions through, right? Like, this stuff takes it. Like, I have a 72-hour rule now where something happens and I just wait 72 hours to even comment on it. And then usually by then I don't even want to address it. I just wait. Like, I don't even, like, something breaks, like some little piece of news breaks, and I just hold what I got. Because people don't understand the second and third order consequences of their actions. And there's a million things, like, just in this last year. I don't know if you guys are tracking, but AFSOC went through a little drama in the last year and a half. Well, the second and third order consequences of the whistleblowers and the anonymous people and all that other stuff, we're seeing those now, and they're terrible. It did more harm to the community than the initial thing did. So now when you look at it and you're like, oh, well, was that, were those actions meant to help? Did you go into it with the intent to do the best that you could by the career fields, by the community, by the organization that we're here to support? We're still here to do a job. We're still here to conduct warfighting in a special operations nature on the behalf of the DoD and the United States of America. That's my job. I'm a warfighter by trade, here to conduct the business of warfighting. And when people lose sight of what that is, they're just as bad as the people that they're railing against. So you can, and this is nobody in particular, but people are like, oh, the military's gone woke and everybody here is all up in their feelings. And oh man, I can't stand it. If they would just turn a mirror onto themselves, they're the ones that are constantly saying, well, in my day, I think that this should be this way. It's me, my, this narcissistic, you have to listen to me and I'm going to tell you that you're doing things wrong. Like, you realize that you're doing the exact same thing. It's the different side of the same coin that you're doing, and it's not helpful. And again, like, that's not our space. Like, if this horse isn't dead already, it's close. That's why we don't engage in it, because it's not our space, and we're here to help. And we never lose sight of, like, does this help? Does this help people? Does this help the community? If that answer isn't yes, then we don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's valid. I bet people would love to hear the conversations if they got a chance to see it from a team room perspective, or even when you're doing kind of like what's called an all call or something like that, whether it's an enlisted all call or whether it's the entire squadron. I can say from at least a special tactics standpoint, team room or an all call, it can get fiery. Not necessarily an all call where it's the entire squadron, but if you can do certain sections or certain groups where it's like, okay, today I'm talking to our special warfare mission support. Now I'm going to talk to the teams. Like, it can get a little spicy. And as somebody who's been up there in the firing line, sometimes it's a tap dance. Sometimes you have the right answer. Other times, I mean, like Aaron, you've seen me. I've been up there and it's like, guys, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to this. I think we're going to go this way, or I think this might be the solution, but I got to be honest. Like, I really don't know, because I don't know what the right answer is. And I also don't know, what the next day's going to bring. Like, what's the next thing that could potentially change the outcome from today? I don't know. It's weird. I'm tap dancing up there like I'm tap dancing right now, because I really don't know what the hell I'm saying.
Now, well, the thing, you always want to give clear, your clear opinion on it, and you could be wrong. Like, the entire landscape could change by lunch, and you could be wrong by lunch, and it's so tough to lead. I always use when people ask me, certain questions, or when people are trying to like figure out how to be in their space. I had a master sergeant come to me this week, and he had a really complex problem, and he was like, hey, I don't know how to fix this. And I gave him whatever input I could, and I could just try to give him a different perspective, and maybe, hey, here's how I might handle it. And we had a good talk. But at the end of it, he was kind of like, hey, thanks. I've just never been in this position before. And I looked at him and I was like, you know what? I've never been in this position either. I've never had somebody come to me for advice on this thing. I am juggling flaming chainsaws every single day. I use the analogy of when you were a little kid, right? When you were like 10 and you would go to like family gatherings, like, Christmas or Thanksgiving, and you'd look and you'd see all your aunts and uncles. You'd be like, look at all these adults. Look at all these adults that know what they're doing and that have life figured out. That, you're like, oh yeah, these people know. And then now I'm the adult at those parties. We have no clue. We're in the kitchen talking about how we have no clue how to, handle a school situation, or this thing happened with the kids and I don't know how to handle it. And here's the thing that happened at work, and I can't believe that I handled this so badly. Like, nobody knows what they're doing. And we tend to forget that. Like, it's so easy to sit in the cheap seats and be like, oh, this guy's an idiot and whatever. And like, hey, bud, you don't know what you're doing either. You have no clue what you're doing day to day. You just have the chance to snipe now. And it's easier to do that because, and this is another point I wanted to bring up, is it's not cool to care anymore. Like, it's not cool to be positive. It's not cool. Like, you have to be cynical. You have to call people out. You have to make spicy memes. Like, you have to do all. It's not cool to just be like, oh yeah, cool, is what it is. But I have a victor mentality. I want to win. And yeah, this sucks, but we're going to get through it. And that's just not a cool position to inhabit anymore. And I guess I'm okay with not being cool, because I'm just past the cynicism and constant negativity, because it's draining. It takes me energy to do that. And I don't have a whole lot of that.
Well, and to be the victor, you also have to be strategic, right? Like you talk about things that change, and we see this all the time. Like, hey, 10 years ago, this isn't how this was. It's like, hey guys, we are 1 year post GWAT. And if you think that doesn't affect the money perception everything else. And if all they're seeing from our community is negativity, like, it's different. Like, and I know most of the guys in right now, almost nobody remembers pre-GWAT, especially from like a leadership level and from a funding level and all those other things. And so, like, the optics from the community beyond our community are very important right now. You know what I mean? So, like, we want to rail at these people and be like, well, 10 years ago when I came through the pipeline, it's like, hey, man, it was just a machine to get people downrange, to save, kill, whatever people. Like, that's all it was. And a lot of the politics and a lot of those other things were kind of put to the side, and we were like held up as like this pinnacle of people that we really, really needed. Well, guess what? We're post GWAT. Like, do they really, really need us now? And they're asking those questions. So when your leadership starts making certain decisions, and like then the guys come in from, you know, the back and are like, hey, when I came through and when I deployed and things weren't like this, it's like, hey, man, but like the situation has changed. And if you're unable to work that into your calculations and understand what's going on, then maybe you should just keep your mouth shut. And we all know what it was like 10 years ago. We were all there. We got it. But you have to, like, if you're not projecting out what's happening and using some strategy in order to be victorious, and optics are a big part of this, especially during peacetime, you know, the whole quiet professional thing, less quiet than we used to be, right? Obviously, but the professional side of it, if all they're seeing from our community is this negativity and we're fighting with ourselves and all we're bringing up is like all this, you know, all the things that are going wrong, those things are going to have an impact. So, you know, if you're sphere of influence, if you're not able to like see what's going on and react to change, then maybe you should keep your mouth shut.
Oh man, Trent is all kinds
I know.
of fired
Look,
up.
you just—it's like you pull a string and you just let him go.
Oh,
I'm just saying, like, use some strategy, guys.
Right, but if you're
you keep your mouth shut. You understand me?
it's like they're the Joker chasing cars. I don't know what I would do if I catch it. I just, you know, do I look like a guy with a plan? Is sort of the thing. But this is actually useful, right? So, I want to kind of transition to. So now that you know why we do the things that we do, like I want to talk to y'all young team members. I'm getting a lot.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. Here we go. I'm getting we get a lot of 3 levels, like a ton of them. Like at the STS I work at, we are going to have like 15 3 levels in the next 6 months. I think we're up past 15 3 levels. For y'all that aren't tracking,
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chief. That is a ton, right? But when we see people, like, if you think that you're going to be able to like get out of the pipeline, and then you're just going to be like this super cynical, like, oh yeah, like complete, like, I will tell you from this week, somebody came in with an attitude like that, and then they took the big bikes that we have and they pushed it around the flight line. They were not allowed to turn the bike on. They had to take it for a walk around the flight line where we work because their attitude was bad. So let me just tell you, like, from that.
Well, they needed extra training.
Familiarity.
Exactly.
That's all that is. Yeah, that's good.
Well, you're learning pace count as well. That was the other one. Is sometimes the bike doesn't work, and you have to be able to learn how to pace off the airfield. It was a completely, and we did RM for it. Don't worry, it's totally safe. But I use that statement to say, like, kids, don't get it twisted. If you think you're going to get on team and you can have this bad attitude and be like, oh, everything's dumb and I'm going to make this me. Yeah. Newsflash, guys, that doesn't fly in the team room. That does. You need to get your mind right. So, you know, the not caring. Okay. That's cool on social media. The memes. Okay, fine. You know, whatever. It is a military tradition to bitch about your chain of command. Like, welcome to the fold. You're totally allowed to do that. However, the second that crosses over into unproductive, we are going to correct that behavior because it's not going to happen. That's not how we make strong units. It's not how we make strong teams. It's not how we get after the business of warfighting. It has no place there. So, especially when you're in the pipeline, right now, there is a student somewhere mopping a floor. I guarantee it. With every single thing that we've given them, with $1 million facilities, with whatever, I can still guarantee somewhere right now, somebody in the pipeline is mopping a floor because somebody needs them to mop a floor. That is always going to happen. You are always going to be cleaning something. I always make the joke, I can't wait till I get out of the pipeline and I don't ever have to clean a stupid military building ever again. Joke's on you guys. We do it every Friday. It's part of admin day. Make this place smell like Pine Sol. And the reason behind that rant
Smells clean. It is clean.
The reason behind the rant is like, if you allow yourself to be cynical and you allow those things to build up, you were pretty much not gonna have a good time.
It's my fault.
Well, do we want to finish some?
There is a lot, but going back, yeah, just roll it up. Other than that, everybody have a PMA, a positive mental attitude. You shouldn't be doing anything about it.
Do we want to transition into some frequently asked questions just to get this one out? I feel like we've covered the why that we talk the way that we do. What questions are you guys getting that have been burned in the minds of the peeps?
Just the normal questions, right? Like, pipeline questions, medical questions, which I think we covered with the reel the other day. I don't think
we did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why we don't answer medical questions, just because if we tell you no, then we're potentially losing a potentially great operator. If we tell you yes, and then you put all this work in and you get a big disappointment because it turns out that whatever medication you happen to take, 10 years ago, negate your opportunity to train, then I mean, it's unfortunate. That's why we don't do it. Plus, we're also not medical professionals, especially Aaron, knowing the most medical stuff on here.
Absolutely not.
Terrible, PJ. Terrible.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Terrible at medicine.
You're a PJ? I mean, every knot you've had. And it's one of those things too, like, we're not the gatekeepers, guys. You can ask, I could tell you no, and you could go succeed. Like, I have no business doing it. Let them tell you no. Let the assessment and selection cadre tell you didn't make it. Let the doctor tell you that this thing is going to disqualify you. Don't take somebody else's word for it. And oftentimes I don't even take that first no. I take that first no and I go, okay, cool. Well, that's your opinion. Let me go and make sure that this is valid. And I go find another one. And then oftentimes that works out. So it's just kind of how we do things.
Yep.
I did get a question the other day that I had to use the 72-hour rule on. It's one of those questions where someone hit me up and they go, hey, do SR guys do like demolitions and explosives training? And I'm like, this is one of those questions as an example. And whoever sent that question, I'm sorry I haven't answered you back, but it's taken me a minute to process how to say something to you nicely.
So here's your live answer.
With 30 seconds of research on the DuckDuckGo, you could find the answer to that. So it's in the career field description. So the answer is yes. It's in there. So you're welcome.
For sure. I think that is what now there's just
positivity, PMA.
We try to be positive about it, but I love it too when I see you can tell by the question, and we hit it earlier in the rant for having this hour-long rant that we've decided to do. But you can tell in the question, again, like you haven't even looked through the page. Usually I start off with like, hey, have you looked at the page or looked at the YouTube channel at all? And usually they're like, oh no. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, it's on there. Let me know if you have questions. That should be nice about it. But it does get frustrating every once in a while. Every once in a while you just want to grab somebody and just give them a good shake,
Yeah. Bart Simpson them.
Yeah, well, part of it is it's not like, oh, dude, I don't have time to answer you. It's sometimes there's just nuggets of information that you will glean more from watching an episode or several of the episodes than me giving you a couple sentences or paragraph. Like I can go generic with it, like, hey, for this, you want to do this, or this is the answer. But if you're asking a broad or a general question, man, it's easier and better for you if you just watch one of the episodes, because, you're just getting my opinion, but you could be getting, Aaron, Trent, or if it's a guest that we have on, if you're trying to get Starch, it could be Taylor Starch giving you just this wazoo freaking answer to a question. And it's going to arm you better than me giving you a couple sentences.
Yeah, Peaches is going to tap dance around the answers, so might as well just watch the episode. It's what Chiefs do.
You're not wrong.
If you DM me, my favorite.
Oh, it wasn't an attack on me; it was an attack on
just
Chiefs.
Chiefs in general.
Okay, I got it.
Love it when
nobody hates Chiefs more than me.
Nice.
Okay,
makes sense.
And I'm a Chief. Okay.
Well, I don't know.
So,
I feel like that was a pretty good one. We really laid out, why it is that we are the way that we are. Are we just positive as a group of people? Yes, of course we are. But just remember we're that way for a specific reason. We're here to help you achieve your goals, and you can't have somebody negative leading you down that path. It just can't be. So yeah, you're going to see us, working out. Yeah, you're going to see us doing, the things that we do on page and trying to get you just the most information possible. Like, we just want to give you the most information you possibly can. And then we want to give you an example and go, hey, things aren't great right now, but they seem to be pretty even keel about it. So I can be even keel too. If that helps the career field and it moves the ball forward, that's the whole reason why we're here. And I don't know if you feel differently, but that's how I feel about it.
Nope. I'm here to build people up. I mean, that's really what I am. I do have an occasional rant, and I can't stay positive all the time, even though I'm guilty of being positive more often than not. But that's what we're here for. We're here to build and shape the next generation of folks coming in, not just into special warfare, but also the Air Force and DOD, whether you're going to go be a SEAL or whatever. If we can help, that's awesome.
100%.
The random people that listen to this and have nothing to do with the military, I'm here for you too. Let us know.
Yep.
It's all good.
Yep. So hit us up in the DMs. Go over to the YouTube channel.
Sweet. Well, on that note, you guys have a good one.
Nice.
I don't really know where to go for it.
Yeah.
Check us out. Check out the shop. Buy some merch. Leave a review.
The reviews
subscribe.
really do help. Yeah.
Check out many of the collaborating partners we have, because we got some amazing ones, and they're all products that we use, and we know these people personally. So
awesome. Thanks for the review. I'd love to get up to 1,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts. So that'd be tight. Train hard.